There are multitudes of flavoured savoury snacks on the market, and my 25 years of interacting with them have led me to this. These are my presentations. I am Michael Crispin Clarke, premiering Crisp Reviews. Today we'll be talking about crisps. Here in the UK, they are a savoury collection of snacks that primarily include the potato chip. We'll be looking at a company called Walker's, who, in my lifetime, have become synonymous with the UK-based crisp. As you saw, my bag of ready salted flavoured crisps was part of a multi-bag. This is presented quite nicely, with a bright red hue. The colour is quite important for the packaging of crisps in the UK, highlighted mostly with Walker's. Throughout the years they have used colourful brands to indicate what flavour of crisp you have inside. Now, not necessarily by accident, these are called ready salted. They appear red. Ready salted is different. You can get on the market plain crisps, and some of those crisps, like the classic Smith's brand Salt and Shake, come with an individual packet of salt in which you, the consumer, seasons to taste. These crisps have already been pre-seasoned, and of course from a factory setting contain a lot of other varying proportions that of course would not be disclosed from the main company. We will be trying these and seeing what they taste like. Peeking inside, we see light yellowy coloured crisps, a lot of space for them to sit, and again quite an appealing display all round. I would rate the appearance of these crisps and presentation high, which is not surprising as Walker's is iconic here in the UK. So they do look like what we would consider a classic bag of crisps. Let's take a look at the crisps themselves. So I seem to have gotten a small handful of these, but as you can see they are indeed light in colour, very thin for a potato chip. These are a style of chip that is conveyor belt made, so rather than it being batch made, we can certainly see that they have optimised that light style of crisp. There is very rarely, when you open these bags of crisps, a burnt crisp in sight. If we do come across something that is burnt, I will of course show you, and also the other crisp defect that you may find is where the skin would normally be, where you may find eyes of the potatoes that haven't quite survived the peeling or chopping process, and sometimes you will find green around the edges. But what I find with Walker's plain crisps, as the potato has to stand out for itself, is that the potato does. You get probably a little bit more of the shine of the oil as well, creating these bubble marks. But all in all, the potatoes used, whilst advertised as Great British potatoes, certainly are great. Let's have a flavour test now, shall we? Okay, now it's time for the thing that I've been waiting for, which is to try the crisp itself. This particular crisp has only a very mild mention of what I was saying before. It's just a little bit of the skin. Crisps are fairly wasteful in terms of a product when it comes to the potato. It can almost be a ratio of 4:1 of your actual raw potatoes to create a crisp, but it doesn't stop it from being an unbeatable snack. Let's try Walker's plain, ready salted flavoured crisps. So, the experience of that crisp. It did have an initial crisp factor, hence the name of what we call them in the UK. The initial crunch on the mouth is pleasant. It is noticeable, but there is very little resistance on the crisp itself, unlike with some harder, thicker cut chips. Then we come to the actual flavour and the feel whilst you are eating them. It is quite salty. As someone who is not a real big fan of adding additional salt to things, I do taste the salt individually as in regards to the salt and then also the salty potato flavour. This in of itself is interesting. It does create a flavour profile, but it is primarily one note. You get the taste of potato, oil and salt all in one simple snack. Here in the UK, it is pretty much known that Walker's ready salted flavoured crisps are enjoyed by millions and are the staple of what a UK based crisp is. But for those who are a little bit more of a crisp connoisseur, we can discuss perhaps a few setbacks. In recent years, the style of crisp that Walker's has managed to perfect, the very light, very thin, and particularly crisp type of crisp, has now fallen into a sense of lower status. Those who enjoy crisps these days are not looking for things which are simply plain, but are flavoured in more extravagant and interesting ways, while still trying to balance the fact that natural ingredients are preferred to artificial flavours. Also in the way of the cooking of the crisp. This is cooked by a big machine over in Leicester, whilst slightly more smaller companies still do batch cooking or kettle cooking their crisps. Walker's main adversary in that market therefore becomes a totally different type of savoury snack under the same brand of the potato chip. We then come to the idea of flavouring. Ready salted in of itself is a flavour, but it is almost considered as plain is. It wasn't until the boom in the late 70s, when loads of flavours flooded the market, that we really had more of an interesting innovation period for crisps. Therefore, it is starting to become the fact that once the champion of what a crisp is and should be has now become just a standard, the everyday crisp. Something that you would go to as a go-to rather than something like a snack or a treat. And with us being a lot more weight conscious and health conscious, you may want to choose which packet of crisps you consume, as of course we really shouldn't be consuming more than one. So, in terms of consumption, what actually makes us feel satisfied and what makes us feel like we've got not only our value for eating but also value for money? When it comes to Walker's, they have managed to, by some reason, create what is the UK standard of weight for crisps, such as this one here, the 25 grams. However, from my days in my youth, I certainly remember crisps weighing a lot more than this. Some as upwards as 40 grams, or some in the more average level of 32.5 grams. That amount of volume of crisps was something that I would consider satisfactory. It may be my exposure to that first that makes me think that the modern 25 grams, or even in some cases sub 25 grams, does not fill one's appetite as either a side to a meal or as a snack in of itself. Crisp manufacturers want to make sure that the everyday brand of crisp is accessible to as many people as possible. So in keeping those prices low for both the consumer and the manufacturer, we are then led to be having a smaller and smaller packet of crisp, more commonly known as shrinkflation. As the packets get smaller, they argue the fact that they have to keep the prices the same, as that's what we've grown used to, or even raise the prices for a lesser product. This I take issue with. So, next time you're at the supermarket and you next time see a packet of Walker's ready salted crisps, think, is it worth it? My overall rating for the Walker's ready salted crisps is a very standard 5 out of 10. They are a standard for the reason they do not impress me as much as some of the flavours do, but they are super competent. They are a crisp's crisp. Thank you.